Somebody said, boy, you talk about a bunch of nonsense. That old dude down there with the whiskers, every time we see him, he's stuck out in the middle of somewhere in the woods like they staged. Now, we know they staged it. I mean, that dude, every time we look at him, he's out there on some kind of pipe, draining water or pumping water, talking about beavers, and he's making us think that's what he does all the time. He's trying to convince us. The dude's a multi-millionaire, he's a big dog. But he makes it look like he stays in the woods all the time, fooling around with beavers and water.
He does.
Dan, how long you been running with me, son? You started out in the duck blind, you about, what, 10?
Yeah, I was about 10 his age.
Give the audience a little update when we're shown filming. We're sitting under an oak tree down there. We got a film crew that's filming it. We're sitting here shooting the breeze, talking about, you know, the ways of life and the arts of America and the Jesus and loving one another. And we're stuck off down in the woods. Dan, are we staging this, or is this just the way it is, son?
No,
you tell me.
This is the life we choose. This is, especially for Phil, this is the life he's chosen.
You're like, we want to see the other side of it, what you really like. I'm like, well, this is it. You're like, how in the world could you just roam around in mud and swamp, looking at the trees, observing acres? Is that it? That's it. But there's one thing for sure, Dan. Look, if you're coming through the airport and you are the king of the Karl Marx crowd, you are #1 Marxist from way back, and you are a far left wing, you're way out there, you know. I don't mind. I'm not going to crowd up, get me a little group and come up there and go running my mouth. I'm never going to do that, ever. I'm going to sit there. You know, you may come up there with your little group, yeah. You say, are you ever going to do that to a human being? No matter how far out there they are on the political spectrum. Never. You know why? I'm going to be civil.
It's rude.
It's rude.
It's rude.
Well, it's lawlessness. I'm not going to do it. Well, while we're zealously performing the duties of good citizens and soldiers, George Washington is still talking. We certainly ought not to be inattentive to the higher duties of religion. He's not talking about going to church. He's talking about how you are, what you produce. I build duck calls. It's a good thing. You're like, started out building duck calls. Somebody caught wind of it. Some TV outfit, A&E, so they did a reality show. I'm like, you're gonna put this on television? People actually watch it? It's not, there's not much going on here, very little. Maybe God's behind it. He wants us to show people, calm down. To berate your neighbor? You never even met him. Well, his policies. Well, there's a time and a place you can sit down and you give your side and he gives his side. Come on. To the distinguished character of patriot, it should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of Christian. You know why I'm at least trying to find Christian people to vote for? You say, well, what about some of them who are just turning and repenting, some of them works in progress. I said, well, do they have any semblance, any effort to retain the knowledge of God? Being civil, kind, nice, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Do they have any of those qualities at all? I sift through the people I vote for looking for good men and good women, men and women with common sense, ordinary good sense and sound judgment. That's all I'm asking for out of a human being in the political world. You say, you're not going to vote for me if I'm for murdering my own children and you're practicing perversion and your life is full of immorality. You're not going to vote for me. No. Whatever God says is good, I'm going with that. He wrote you a book this thick about good and evil. But everybody, there's no God, salt water made us, and then we huddle up and badmouth people. I now make it my earnest prayer that God would most graciously be pleased to dispose us all to do justice, to love mercy, and to demean ourselves with that charity, humility, and pacific temper of the mind, which were the characteristics of the divine author of our blessed religion. Back on Jesus again. White privilege. Do you think I care whether he was white or black if he thought like that? If he thinks like that? I don't care what color you are. That was sound advice.